Yes, hello there and welcome to today's episode of Weekend Rewind. Yes, this is when we put our hands back into the Join Up Dots vaults, swirl it around a bit and find an episode that maybe has got lost in the midst of time. And this is in response to the amount of requests we get from people who say, David, with all the episodes you've released, where should we start? Well, it's very hard to find a place, so we're just going to randomly pick one, and this is today's episode. Enjoy.
When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph. When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there everybody and welcome to Join Up Dots episode 414, and I am feeling good. I've had some terrible night's sleep this week. It's been sleep deprivation at its worst. It's been like when you have young kids and they get up all the time. I've been sort of on fumes, but last night I had a good night's kip, so I'm ready for a great show. And it is going to be a great show because this guest is not just a guest, she's a friend. Yes, she's a personal friend of mine because she was kind enough to allow me to spend time with her on her own show, Freedom Academies, Turbocharge Your Success, and we had such a great chat, and during our conversation it was clear to me that this was a lady that I needed to get on to Join Up Dots, as she has a story that shows all the characteristics that we find in the successful folk. Now, she and her business partner Laura West a few years ago found themselves homeless. The business they ran together was going south and they were exhausted. They had no option at all but to move into 2 rooms in the office. Now, they had a problem that most business owners have at one time or another. They're very good at what they did, but nobody knew about it. They couldn't get their talents out into the world. So they started researching business growth systems, high-performance gurus, wealth creation experts, and all the investment strategies they could get their hands on. And within 12 months, yes, just 12 months, they had a property portfolio worth over $2 million that they'd bought with other people's money. Yeah, not even their own money. Now, more importantly, the income from that property was double the income from their business that they had spent years building up. Now, they also applied all the business knowledge they had gained, transformed their business, and went on to sell it. And they did all of this while still being homeless, using the leisure centre across the road to shower and working 80 hours per week. So was it just that the dots joined up and the time became right for them to flourish, or was it more to do with the understanding that upskilling your knowledge is the key thing to do? You can never stop learning. Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Kemi Egan. How are you, Kemi?
Hey, I'm really well, thank you. How are you?
You're not really well. You've got hay fever. You were telling me you're sniffling and snotty and rather unattractive in an attractive way, because you are an attractive lady, but you're struggling at the moment.
Yeah, I always have hay fever, to be honest. It's a year-long thing, so it's not really a drama anymore, but it just means that every now and again my voice gets a little bit deeper and my eyes get a bit puffy.
So how do you know that? Because my wife has hay fever and she says, oh, it's hay fever. And I say, well, how do you know it's hay fever and not a cold? How do you determine?
Because you don't feel kind of unwell. I describe it as just feeling a bit cloudy. So I'll wake up, my eyes will be a little bit puffy, and I just feel a little bit in a haze. Almost like, when you've got a hangover and it's just that dehydration feeling. You don't actually feel bad, you're just not quite with it.
I have no idea what you mean, Kemi. I have never drunk in my life. You can't say to the host you're a liar. That's not how it starts.
I can, David, I know you.
Yeah, all right. I know that feeling extremely well. So that's what it's like, is it? A bit of a hangover?
Yeah, I just feel a bit cloudy, a bit kind of vague. It takes me a while to kind of get my brain to kick in. And then I'll take some antihistamines, have a nice cold shower, make sure there's no pollen on my skin anywhere, and I'm pretty good to go.
Well, we were talking just before we started recording, and I'm going to bring it straight into the conversation because it is a key part. You wake up in the morning being self-employed and you feel a bit rough. Are you more likely to just lay on the sofa and do Netflix, or because you found your thing, are you going to push through it, unlike people who will phone up the boss and go, oh, I can't come in today, I feel really rough?
I think it really depends. Especially in the early days of the business, I would have said 100% I'd push through and do whatever. Now, I'm quite fortunate that financially I don't need to work. I don't need to do anything. So if I'm in the middle of a project that I'm really passionate about and I really love and I really want to drive forward, then for sure, hell or high water isn't getting in my way. But if actually I've just got a couple of bits and pieces to do and a couple of meetings later on in the day, then I might well just have a chill out, have a relax, might go... where I live is really cool. So we've got a lot of really nice cafes and bars around. So, I might just head out for some breakfast and then when I'm ready, get back to it. So, sometimes I'm a little bit screwed because if I've got, like yourself, I've got a big old podcast. So if I've got 20 bookings in a day, you just have to roll with it. Other days, if I have the option, then I play it by ear, which is, it's something I really love. And I really recognise that that's one of the benefits of the life we live.
Well, I've got a platform that I created called Dream Starters Academy, where we get people thinking about what is possible and moving towards the dream life, as I say, create the dream. And I realised early in the days that one of the key points that I had to get across to people is it's possible. When you're hearing Kemi say that she can get up and she can go down for a bit of lunch and breakfast and come back and she can open her first can of Foster's at 9:30 in the morning and everything is all right in her life, you can do that, can't you? When you find the thing that means that you are providing value to people on a global scale, all the rules and regulations go out the window and you literally have your cake and eat it. And it's a big mindset shift. Did you struggle to get past that like everybody else does?
Oh, massively. Absolutely. I came from a background where we didn't have a lot of money and at times any money. We had a single parent mixed race family. It was, there was a lot of domestic abuse. There's a lot of addiction. It was a pretty, I guess, rough background. So the idea that you could be financially free or you could come and go as you please or, you can have assets that generate you passive income. When I first started reading this, I thought everyone
Why do you laugh when you say that? Why do you laugh now? Because it still sounds kind of unbelievable somehow that you can earn money while you sleep.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm not sure I'll ever actually come to terms with how fortunate I am. And I'll never stop forgetting the feeling as well. When I first started studying this and becoming educated and people were telling me, this was possible and you can get private lenders and they'll give you 100 grand to go buy houses. I thought they were all mental. I genuinely thought everyone had lost the plot and I was the only sane one left. But it turns out it was the other way around. Everyone else had it bang on and I just had to get on the train and figure it out.
It is like the old Alice in Wonderland, isn't it? You go through the mirror and then you will never see the landscape in the same way again. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and I would say in the last probably 3 months, even though I was talking about it on a daily basis and living the life to a certain degree, last 3 months it's turned on its head and I've gone turbocharged, and now I believe everything that anyone says to me. And it was like a switch going on, and once you finally believe, it is like all the windows change and the view that you've been seeing isn't there anymore. It's just totally different, and you realise that you can, as I say, have your cake and eat it. What's a great way for somebody out there who's sitting on the train, they're going to that crappy job, they got the boss that they can't stand, and they're thinking, this is the life I want, but it's not for me. I know it's not for me because it's for the lucky people. What's a good thing to have, Kemi?
In terms of what, like a resource or a book or something?
Anything to kickstart it.
I love podcasts. I think there are some really amazing podcasts out there and they give you a really great oversight. So, you've got your podcast, you've got Pat Flynn's, you've got Entrepreneur on Fire. There are some really great ones that have guests on from different walks of life and they're doing different things at the moment.
What's the greatest one? What's the greatest, Kemi? You mentioned 3 there, but what's the best one?
The best one? it might. Do you know what? I think for me, it probably doesn't fit in with our conversation, but I really loved Tim Ferriss's one.
No, you should have said join up darts. You mentioned Pat Flynn, EO Fire, and me. I led you to that perfect moment, and you screwed it up.
You did. I can only apologise.
Bloody Tim Ferriss. I don't want authentic. Tim Ferriss getting top billing over me.
Hey, unless you want to be a human guinea pig like he is, just let him do it.
Do you think so? Shall we sort of re-edit that as if it never happened? So what is the best podcast out there for people to get that vibe?
Well, there's one that just stands out head and shoulders above all of the rest. It's so good. I don't even know if I know the name. No, this one is an amazing show. You have some great guests on. And I think the conversations you have with them are so genuine and so authentic. You actually get to the root of who they are and why they do what they do, rather than skimming the surface, which is massively valuable.
Well, you didn't need to say that, but shucks, I'll take that confidence anyway. So if we sort of delve into your life, you say it was a pretty rough upbringing. Were you aware that it was rough at the time? Were you aware that sort of the opportunities that maybe you had and your peer group wasn't going to be conducive to where you are now directly?
I think so. I always knew that I would do something different from kind of day one. I've always known that, and my mum now tells me that even when I was really, really little, kind of 4 or 5, I'd be saying to her, I'm going to buy you a house one day, I'm not going to do this and I'm going to do that. Which is odd because, there was no way in reality that was ever going to happen. I'm not a huge fan of being realistic, but if we're going to be, that was never going to happen. The chances were so slim. But I always talked about this. I'm quite fortunate that, academia kind of came quite naturally to me. So I didn't have to try very hard to get decent grades at school. On the flip side, not having to try very hard means I didn't concentrate and I got up to all kinds of naughty things that I shouldn't have done.
What did you do? What naughty stuff?
Nope.
Go on, no one listens. It's just you and me.
I did a lot of things that you shouldn't do and you certainly shouldn't be doing at such a young age.
Like what? Like what? Give me an example.
I probably drank too much and I did other things too much.
You can never have too much of too much, can you? If it's at the right time.
Yeah, that is true. But no, our school had a quite well-known drug problem, and while it wasn't anything kind of hardcore, it was still not something you want people in their young teens to be up to in their lunch break.
But does it make you, when you look back on that, do you kind of think to yourself, wow, it was just crazy times? Or do you just think, well, that's actually part of where I am now. That's part of the journey. Yeah,
I used to be really embarrassed by it and really ashamed by it. And I wouldn't talk about, the journey or where I came from or whatever, because I didn't want to be judged based on that. But actually, as the last few years have gone on, I'm really happy to be judged based on that. I don't want to be seen to condone it, which is why I'm a little bit careful about what I say that I did, because I know some people take that as thinking, oh, that's a good idea, and it wasn't. But I'm incredibly proud of where I came from, what I've managed to create as a result. And I'm really proud that it means I can stand in front of anyone and look them in the eye and say, look, if I did it, you can. If I look at where I came from and where I am now, then I can guarantee you the chances are you're a million times better off than I was. So don't let anything stand in your way. And I think when I can say that from this position, it gives me a real chance at helping people that maybe others that have had a more privileged upbringing can't do because they can't relate on the same level.
I do think you're absolutely right. I think it's that breadth of experience, even though, and we've all got things in our life we look back and go, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that at that time. But it's part of the journey, as we say, and it leads you to the point of where you want to take action. And that point, whether it comes in your 30s, your 40s, your 20s, is only right for you. And it doesn't matter about your past. It's only about that moment and how you're going to move on from that point onwards. So you had that moment. You had that moment where you suddenly went, no, enough is enough. Things have been going a bit pear-shaped, as we say in the United Kingdom. I'm going to actually create the future I want. Was it that cut and dried? Was it just over a period of time? Were you in the shower one morning and think, yes, I know what I'm going to do? How did it all come about? And if you just want to talk about being in the shower for hours, I'm happy with that as well.
I just had, when you said that, being in the shower and just saying yes, I just had like an American Pie flashback. What happened? So actually, I graduated as a physical therapist, and I started this healthcare clinic because, again, I remember being young and being hurt, and my mum couldn't afford to take me to a private clinic, and the wait list for what we have in the UK, the NHS, was 12, 16 weeks or whatever. And I remember my mum being upset because I was hurt and she couldn't do anything about it, and I was also upset because I was in pain. So I started this place with the view of it being a middle ground. So it was kind of cheaper than most affordable places, but immediate care, top quality, all of that jazz. And I was really, really proud of that. And then I lost one of my best friends. Her boyfriend killed her, and I realised in that moment that actually, although I thought the cycle was broken and I thought things were changing, actually nothing was. I had a different title and maybe fancier shoes, but the reality is we're all still in the same environment we were. And then moving forward, fortunately for me, I decided to open this business in the middle of a worldwide recession, and it was all going down the pan. And overnight, a couple of our big suppliers, so you have car crashes and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
We got our referrals, a lot of them from them. And a couple of the big guys went under. They took with it, 85% of our business and thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds that they owed us in fees that we'd already generated, which is how we kind of ended up living in this office. And it was just a moment where I sat there completely brokenhearted, thinking, I'm doing everything I can. I'm trying to help. I'm trying to make a difference. I'm trying to break this cycle and make sure this never happens again, but it's not working, and I don't understand why. And I absolutely, this evening, just sobbed my heart out for hours and hours. Talk about snotty and gross, that was a rough night. And it was I was just heartbroken. I couldn't stand up, I couldn't breathe, I just couldn't function properly. And it came down to the fact that actually to change the world requires wealth. If I want to start, which I do, my big goal in life is to have this fantastic centre for victims of domestic violence, where you learn skills and you learn training, so it properly breaks the cycle of poverty and violence. If I want to start this thing, I need to be financially secure myself. I need to have wealth. I need to be able to influence other people and get them involved and get them to help create this big dream. And so I thought, well, actually, what makes money? What is everyone else in the world doing that I'm not doing? Everyone during this time, we have this recession, but people are still making money. I don't see Donald Trump or Alan Sugar living on the street because we're in a recession. So clearly these people know something I don't. And I just threw myself at books and at audio programs and at online training and podcasts and webinar, and just tried to figure out what it was that they all knew that I didn't. And it was kind of in that moment that the switch occurred for me, that I realised that there was a better way and a different way.
Because I think that switch is always in you. I think that you can read all the books, you can listen to all the podcasts, but when that switch occurs, you actually find your thing that's inside you already. It's almost like you're trying to hunt for something that actually is in you already, and it's that experience that you've built up over those years. How much of that switch was that? How much was what you'd learned through the podcasts and the books, and how much did you actually realise, my God, I think I know it and I can do it. This is part of me.
Yeah, absolutely. It was entirely in me. I know that from day one, because equally I've seen others try it, and you need to have a certain drive. You need to have a motivation. It needs to be something deeper than just wanting to get rich. I genuinely think the people that go out there just wanting to get rich generally fail quite quickly, even if they make it first. What the podcast and the books did for me is give me a vehicle. So I listened to all of this. I figured out that real estate is a brilliant way with amazing leverage, and that was going to be my path to create wealth in the first instance before I diversified with multiple streams of income. But yeah, the switch and the catalyst, that was already in me. The other stuff just gave me a way to do it.
So when you are doing all your things, how do you keep the focus about it? Because that's one of the key parts. When you're starting anything, we hear about the shiny object syndrome, where suddenly something grabs your attention and you go off in that direction. Now, with this show here, it's the first time ever that I have remained focused for 2.5 years, and I can see the benefit of doing that. It's all around me, and any opportunity that came that wasn't part of my plan, I just haven't done it. I've knocked it away. How have you done that when you've got so many opportunities coming your way once you build that certain amount of momentum?
Oh, it's so hard, isn't it? Because you see these great things and the opportunity to work with these great people, and you're like, that'd be so much fun, that'd be fun, that would be a great earner, blah, blah, blah. The first thing I did was I had a really clear vision of what I wanted. Some of that was income generated, some of it was net worth generated, some of it was just lifestyle generated. So any opportunity that came to me, if it didn't get me closer to any of those goals, just got rid of it. So if I was offered an opportunity that would have taken me closer to maybe my net worth, but actually taken a step back on my lifestyle, I didn't entertain it. And that gave me a good solid, probably 3-ish years for me to kind of build the portfolio, build the management team and the systems around it without any distraction. And what I employ now is generally either an 80-20 or a 70-20-10, 60-40 type process. So I'll have one thing that's my main focus for the time being. So maybe 65% of my time is spent on this one thing. Then I have a secondary focus, which will be, I might spend, say, 25-30% of my time on. And then I'll have a third focus or third thing that I'll be maybe researching, maybe putting the steps in line for, maybe having meetings to line up. And then when my 65% mission is systemized, it's set up, and I've got the team running it, that can move over. My 30% focus moves to being 60% of my time, and the 10% moves over. So now I generally have 2 or 3 things on the go, but they just have different amounts of my time. And the big goal with each of them is to get it set up, get it systemized, get it running largely without me. It might take 5 hours of my week or whatever, and then when that happens, I can shift it over, let the team run it, and then I go on to the next thing.
So that means you know your talents. You know that you are a startup girl, and you push it on, and then you go for something new.
Yeah, absolutely.
And could you be there for the long term? Did you think that that's not going to happen? You really do get bored, and you need to move it on.
Yeah, I get bored senseless, to be honest. I don't want to focus on one thing for too much of the time. I just lose the passion for it, and I lose the excitement. And I figured out that what I'm really great at is connecting with people, it's having good meetings, it's bringing in great people, it's knowing what other people are really good at. So, for most of my business, there are people that are better at running it than I am. I have a management team for the properties that are rented out. They're much better at that than I would be. So if I tried to be, I'd be not only not offering jobs where there should be, but I'd be holding back my own business growth. My talent is strategic overview. It's looking at it on a bigger picture and going, well, what can fit in where? What can we do where? How can we do this? How can we do that? Who can we bring in? And so I stick to that and let everyone that's amazing at their thing go and do it.
Is that really your super talent? Is that your superpower? If you pulled open your blouse, would that be across there?
Yes.
So you really
100%.
have nailed it. Because I know that my super talent is being me. And it's taken me a while to realise that. I was trying to do loads of other stuff. But I think naturally being me is my power. And it seems so easy, but that's what I get more and more from the shows. People feed back to me, and the first thing that they sort of say is, you sound so honest and real, it's like we know you. And I think, well, thank God for that, because you do know me, because this is just me. But when you find that thing, there is a part of you for a while that goes, I should be working harder at this. This should be more difficult. I can't just create value in my life and the world by being me. there's got to be other reasons why I should be doing that. Do you struggle with that as well when you pull open your blouse and go, this is the one thing that I do and I do it well? Oh, it's a bit easy.
100%. And it's really interesting as well you said about being you. Because for years I thought, to be a business leader and to have different companies, you had to be this big, obtuse person and, maybe arrogant and whatever else. And I kind of tried to be it for a while, and I tried to be something I wasn't. So I was still doing my superpower, but I was trying to do it under the umbrella of someone else. And it just didn't sit well. I didn't feel great. Things weren't happening the way they should be. And in the end, I kind of gave up and I just went back to being me. And it's been amazing what a transformation the business has had and I've had over the last few years of just being genuinely authentic and me. And it's meant that some people don't want to work with me because actually, we shouldn't work together. But it's attracted some amazing people and I've had so much fun. And it's so easy. It's so easy to do what I do when I get to just be me, like you say. And, I'm a bit silly and I have a lot of fun and I like wine and I love sport and, I just do my thing. And again, like we were saying before, I think before we were recording, the ability to do that, to make money, is such a privilege. And I'm so grateful every day. And I know that sounds ridiculously cheesy, but every day I just get to sit there and go, wow, this is pretty damn cool. And some days are really crappy, so I don't think that. some days you're still busting a gut and it's really hard.
Yeah, but you're still busting a gut on your own terms, aren't you? It's not somebody else telling you to bust your gut. That's the difference. I have some days that I might work for 18-hour days, like slave labour. But at the end of it, I know that that's 18 hours of my own personal rewards, and I'm not just making somebody else rich.
Exactly. And, you then go to... So you're busting your gut and then, you'll talk to someone else that's still in a job and then you realise that actually, your day wasn't that bad.
Well, just before we started recording, Kemi was telling me that for 2 weeks she basically sat at home doing a few emails and watching the tennis and just watching Wimbledon. And that's the way to operate your business, isn't it? That is like a mini retirement, isn't it? We see the Tim Ferriss logic, and I totally buy into everything that Tim sort of talks about, and I've got the 4-hour work week on my shelf. And the ability to go, no, actually, I want to do this. I want to watch the tennis. I will do bits and bobs, but then I will work harder, later on. You don't need to miss out, do you? You can balance it once you start sort of getting it cooking.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the thing that's really changed over the last couple of years that's kind of made me do that is that I've set standards for other people around me. So, there'll be this time, I don't know if you heard it, David, in the early days, you kind of felt like you always had to pick up your phone or you always had to instantly reply to email or someone wants you, so they must be able to get you immediately. And so I couldn't buy myself 5 minutes breathing time if I wanted to. Now I'm like, you know what, my phone's off. If you can't get hold of me, it's not the end of the world. No one will die. Things are fine. Send me an email. I'll reply to it when I get to it. And it's taken a few years and some training of, different connections and business partners and staff to realise that just because they have something urgent doesn't mean it's my problem. And now, now I have that freedom. But it's like Brendan Burchard says it, doesn't he? It's your email inbox is nothing more than an organising system for other people's problems.
Yeah, that's it. That is absolutely it. And if you know anything about me, Kemi, and I know my listeners will sort of, oh, God, he's going to say this again. But it's true. I don't have a phone in my life. I have no mobile phone. I have nothing. So when I turn my computer off, that's it. And I was at my desk maybe 6 years ago, and I remember somebody sitting by the side of me, and I can't remember his name, but the boss came up and said, I emailed you last night. And the guy looked at him and went, right. And he said, you haven't responded. And he went, well, when did you email me? And he went, at 10 o'clock last night. And he went, well, I'm not effing Barack Obama, so you're not going to get me at 24/7. And I thought, that's absolutely right. He wanted you to respond because he's dealing with something, like Brendan says. But if it's not in your time... So I only look at my emails every 2 days. And I look at it and I spend maybe an hour bashing out on them. And it's all done and dusted, because you don't need to be that connected, do you? And the best way of doing it is not being connected, having playtime, being able to have a breathing space when you can just sort of sit back and think, what do I fancy doing? What can I add value to the business? And if you're constantly bashing on these emails all the time, it's not going to happen, is it? You're making me ranty, Kemi, but it's not going to happen.
Exactly. And I think emails are a great way to make you feel like you're being busy, but you're doing nothing. You know, you're not getting anywhere. You're not driving your business forward. You're just being busy for the sake of being busy. And you'll be amazed what happens if you just don't reply to emails. Just don't reply. Nothing bad will happen. If on the off chance there is something urgent, those people will email you again and say, I know you're busy, but could you have a quick look at this below and let me know your thoughts? Most people won't reply or they won't chase you because they didn't need you anyway. They're also being busy for the sake of being busy.
I used to delete them all when I came back from holiday. I used to come back from holiday and there was like 600 emails or something, you know, and I never used to look at them for 3 days. And anybody who wanted me and had sent something to me would come up and go, I sent you this email when you were on holiday. Oh, tell me about it. And anybody else that didn't come up to me, I used to delete the lot. And it made no difference at all. Absolutely made no difference at all, because that moment of time is the thought process. Somebody goes, I must do that, and email them. And my world's worst, I don't know if you've had this, Kemi, is when you go over to someone, this happens in corporate land all the time, you go over to somebody and you tell them and they go, could you send me an email about that? No, I've just told you. I'm not going to write your notes for you. You remember it. But they do that a lot, don't they?
They do. And I was actually coaching someone last week, I think it was, who is in a kind of a fairly high-powered role. And he was saying that he just gets these kind of those things. Can you check this for me? Or I know we talked about this, but what did we say? So I told him to add up the amount of time he spends in a week doing all of this stuff that other people sent him. And he did, and it came to something absurd, like 22 hours. So I went, right, take that to your boss, to the, not your kind of line manager, the person that thinks they're important, but it's the person that actually pays you. Take them that and say, each week, these emails are costing you this much money. You're paying me, whatever it was, 20 grand, 30 grand, for 20 hours to reply to this nonsense because these people can't be bothered to either remember it themselves or look it up. Do you want me to keep replying to this, or do you want me to work on your business? And in an instant, his boss went, well, no, just forget it all. They can all look it up themselves. So he had the blessing of the person that pays his bills to just delete the emails. And from then on, he went to be, for the last week, he's been massively more productive. His, sales quota has gone up, etc., etc. So, try that. If you're at home and it's driving you crazy, try going to your boss and being like, look, I'm wasting my time replying to this email because people are lazy and they can't be able to look at it themselves or write notes when we talk about it. We could add so much more value to your company, and get your boss on board with it as well.
This is brilliant. I wasn't expecting to talk about this, but we are sharing the gold. Something else I do, this is one of my tips, is in this platform, I get a lot of people going, David, I need to speak to you. Can I connect on Skype? And when I first started doing it, I used to say, yeah, no problem at all, I'll give you 20 minutes. And it was 20 minutes of a sales pitch. They used to just come along. So now I just send an email back to them saying, yeah, if you can bullet point exactly what you want to speak to me about, and then we will connect so I know what we're going to talk about. And as soon as I do that, I never get one response back. I've never once had an email come back bullet pointing what they needed to talk to me about. Now, that's amazing, isn't it?
Oh, I know. I love those. They drive me crazy. I'm like, you know what? Not even my mum can get 5 minutes on the phone with me today, so no. But I love doing that. And there's another great example. So at the moment, we were looking at a development project. I'm going to do a you rant now, David, so apologies. Looking at this big development project, and a lady brought it to us. So she found this development, and the people that were going to pay for it to be developed pulled out at the last minute for whatever reason. So she came to us and said, I need people to fund it. Are you interested? We put in a whole heap of work to this. I got our team on producing projections and yada, yada, yada. It took days. From the very beginning, I was very clear on what our terms were and how we did it. And then we got to the end of this. We're about to kind of exchange contracts and move forward. She said, actually, I don't like those terms. I want it done on this. And what she doesn't realise about me is, that's not happening. I'll be 100% fair. I'm going to be 100% honest, but you don't get to mess me around. So anyway, I said, no, we're not doing it. These terms or no terms. She said, fine, I'll get someone else. 2 days later, I had five voicemails and 3 emails and 2 texts or something in the space of 10 minutes. I can't get anyone else to deal with this. I'm about to lose the deal. So I said to her, can you send me an email and bullet point, exactly like you said, bullet point what you'd like me to do and what terms you'd like it done on. No reply. And then yesterday came back to me again, the same kind of panic. The deal's about to go out the window. I really need to speak with you. So I forwarded the same email. I didn't even bother to write it. I forwarded the same email with the same things. And still nothing. So this is a person that wants from our joint venture partners probably around $2 million. And even she can't be bothered to send bullet point emails. It's amazing.
It's not amazing at all. It's just the way of the world, isn't it? It's like a brain blister that has to burst in their head, and it flies in our direction, and you just bat it back. And you end up having a core business that you are doing the valuable stuff. You're doing the 80-20. And that's it. And once you do the 80-20, you really can, just build income upon income upon income, because you're doing the core functions that tap into your superpower, and you're keeping away from other people's agendas, and you're not working on their timescales. And I've got a bloke called Tim Connolly who's been on the show, and he's brilliant. And he is a coach, business coach. He's a strategist, blah, blah, blah. He does all these things. And he actually says to his clients before he takes them on, if you want to work with me, you've got to get all your stuff done before July, because I'm then disappearing for 3 months and you won't get in contact with me, and I'm not responding to emails. That is my standard. And people go, oh, yeah, okay, I want to work with you. And I sort that out. And he does everything. And then at sort of July, he goes, boom, he turns everything off and he clears off for 3 months. When he comes back, he starts again, because he set his standards out and he's not playing to other people's rules of what should be happening. He's got a lovely life. He whizzes around on his motorbike and he goes and sees different countries and stuff. And he used to sort of take his laptop and do it in sort of cafes in Shanghai and stuff, and trying to find Wi-Fi connection everywhere. But now he just leaves it behind. He says, these are the rules, and you go with it or not. And the people that do are his core clients. It's brilliant, isn't it?
That's amazing. And it reminds me as well, Lewis Howes has the podcast, is it The School of Greatness?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
He's got on his website, if you click the contact me button, there's something like 5 laws I think he's got. And it's really, it's really pretty straightforward. He's like, if you want me, there's a lot of people that want my attention, so speak from the heart, be honest, I think is law 1. And then it's, I'd love to go on every podcast, but I can't, I'm a bit busy. So if you're in the top 300 on iTunes in a category or whatever it is, please feel free to buzz me an email, And they're just these 5 laws, and they're really, really simple. And the thing that I love about that, and about everyone setting their platform out and saying, I'm not going to reply on your timetable, is that you've said what makes it a win for you. I'm a huge fan of win-win in business. Actually, win-win-win. Win for me, win for you, win for the people we serve. And Lewis, in that instance, has gone, this is how I like to win. So he's told you how to get his attention. So all you have to do is fit your win around that. And you're almost guaranteed to get his attention and get what you want out of it. You just have to follow a process. And I just wish more people would look at it that way, rather than thinking, they're superior, they're this, they're that. It's, that's what he wants out of his life. Give that to him, and you're almost guaranteed to get whatever you want back. Which is pretty cool.
It's good, isn't it? It is good, and it is so simple, and that's the beauty of it. And normally I've played maybe 2 motivational speeches, but I think we've been pretty motivational anyway on this show. So I'm going to play one now, which is going to sort of take us through to the next stage. But this is really sort of ties in about what we've been talking about, of getting it right, knowing what your structure is, not getting sidetracked. This is Oprah.
The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because your life is bigger than that one moment. You're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction.
Do you see your life as that you can't fail? You're just going to move on to bigger and better dreams?
Recently, yes, but that's been a huge kind of part of my journey, I think, and my growing into this whole has been seeing that. Like I said, I did. My business partner, for example, Laura, she has always had this view that things will be all right. Don't worry about it; it'll work out. And I never had it. I just didn't have that. I don't know if it's self belief or belief in the universe, but I didn't have it. But yeah, I think I'm there. I think it's something that I'll have to work on for a few years yet. It's not quite natural, I don't think yet. But yeah, I think I'm on the path. I think I know what I'm here to do. And that's hugely powerful. I know what difference I'm here to make, and so I think I have to do it. I'm not even sure it's up to me anymore.
Yeah, you're like a twig on the mighty stream of life, aren't you? As I always say, and you're just being sort of pulled where it has to go, and sometimes you get buffeted around and you hit a few rocks and stuff, but naturally the current will take you past it if you allow yourself to sort of go with the flow, let it go, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, from having not a great start and from losing people I care about, it gives you this kind of steel inside which says, you know what, today might not be my best day ever, but it sure as hell is not the worst day. And whenever you have these knocks and these bumps and things don't quite go to plan, if you can just keep in your mind that this is not catastrophic, this is not the end of the world, it gives you a little bit of perspective. I think entrepreneurs tend to lose because we get so involved and so emotional about our projects.
Now, as I was talking about right at the beginning, I've got a platform called Dream Starters Academy, and there's a sort of image on there which I quite like, and there's a tick-off list as well. So I'm going to ask you the tick-off list that we're developing within this platform, whether you've achieved it yourself. So one of the images is sometimes on the way to a dream you get lost and find a better one. Is the dream that you're on now a lot bigger than you started with? Do you actually buy into those words that, yeah, I started on this path, but now, wow, I think I'm on the real path. That was like the little path, and now this is the big one.
Yeah, 100%. I think to start with, it was about, making ends meet for me, maybe being able to help my family a little bit. It was quite insular and maybe a bit selfish, and now it's much, much bigger than that, and actually has very little to do with me at all.
And does that excite you, that it's bigger, that you're just, once again, you're this little twig floating along, but you're creating something global, powerful, and quite frankly, marvellous?
Yeah, it's hugely exciting. It is, it's a responsibility, I think. I think I've obviously been given this opportunity to change thousands of lives and help other people. And, in the days where I go, oh, I just can't be bothered today, it's that responsibility that makes me do it, because it's because people wrote books and people taught things that I'm here. If Brian Tracy or some of the other people that have changed my life hadn't bothered, then, I'd still be in the hole I was. So it's a responsibility, but it's one I'm really excited by. And, there's nothing better. Nothing comes close to making me as happy as emails and letters from people saying, thank you for what you've done, or because of you, I believe I can do it, or whatever else.
I believe I can fly. That's a song, isn't it? That's what we should be singing.
That's a tune.
We should be singing all day, because that is it. Once you believe, and don't stand on the edge of buildings and believe that you can fly, because that's just mental. But do just believe that the sky's the limit, and whatever you want to do is going to take you a while, but you can get there. And I totally believe that. I believe that somebody could be sitting in an office cubicle wanting to go to space, and if they focused in on it long enough, they could go to space. Simple as that.
100%.
Right, so this is my checklist on my platform, and I want to just see whether you've ticked these off, because what we do, we teach how to build a business around the hours you choose to work. So this is point 1, Kemi Egan. Create a business that works while you sleep. Have you done that?
Yes.
Develop a service business that is a joy every day.
The half. Can I do a half tick?
No, you can either say yes or no.
Yes.
Be your own boss and take total control of your destiny in life.
Indeed, yeah.
Achieve a higher level of personal joy and happiness.
Yeah.
Take time off when you want.
I can, but I don't.
Well, how long could you take off before you get twitchy?
Oh, not very long. I'm terrible. Probably about 4 or 5 days.
Because I went to the pub the other night on a Friday, and I got on the train and I travelled over to meet some old friends, and I was there, and as I walked into the pub, I had this feeling that I was wasting time, and I had one pint and travelled home. And it was just lunacy, and it was so bad that I should this weekend be travelling down to Brighton for a weekend to see one of my old mates who lives down there, and I've cancelled that as well because I just felt that it was wasting time. I don't want to take the time off, even though I've got the ability to take the time off. And that seems to be another battle I need to go through. When you find your thing, it becomes play, it becomes enjoyable, it becomes something to channel your efforts into. And even though you can walk away from it, you don't, do you? You just keep on chipping away because it's all your own rewards.
Exactly. And actually, it's, I'm reading at the moment The Entrepreneur's Solution by Mel Abraham.
Tell us about it.
It was released only a couple of months ago. It's Brendan Burchard's mentor, the guy is. And he's written this book that was kind of written as a guide to his son on how he thought he should kind of live his life. And it's about entrepreneurs. But there's a really great paragraph in it where he just says, you know, there are two struggles entrepreneurs have. One is the struggle to create business and money and pleasure. And the other is the struggle to know how to do that while, you know, supporting your family the way you need to, while being the friend you should be, while, you know, being the children you should be. So you don't end up with all of this wealth and this great business, but actually no friends or family around you because you've been so insular and enjoying what you're doing, you've abused or disregarded these relationships. And actually, I thought that was a huge moment. And I kind of read it and stopped for a few minutes and thought, I think I'm probably the wrong side of that at the moment. You know, I love what I do, which is amazing, but it means I could live in this office and never leave. And actually, you know, people need something else from me. My family need me. My other half, you know, needs me. My friends need me. And, you know,
I need you, Kemi.
Kind of figure out,
I
you
need you.
me.
I need to start drinking at 9:30 in the morning, and you're the lady for me. I've already said that.
It's been known.
We've all been there. But because you're focused in on that, you're going to achieve it, aren't you? It's when you don't realise. That's the key thing that I know time and time again. When I have these moments, like when I was in that pub and I drank that beer and I thought, no, I'm just going to go home. I now know that I've got an issue. I've got an issue that the balance isn't right. I'm too passionate about what I'm creating, and I'm not passionate enough about just sitting there relaxing. And if you don't relax, then something's going to suffer, isn't it? You've got to have those. You know, Tim Connolly, as we say, he's got it right. He's got to have had it right by having 3 months off. So when he comes back, he's absolutely ready to go. And he goes for it for 3 months, works hell for leather, and then takes time off again. We charge our mobile phones, we charge our cars, but we don't charge our own bodies, do we?
No, exactly. And I think, you know, we need to recognise that that rest time is working. It's allowing your brain to mull things over. It's letting your frontal cortex to just process some stuff. And I don't know if you do, but I get my best ideas when I'm resting or when I'm off in the supermarket or doing whatever I'm doing. So actually that time is just as important as work time. We just need to prioritise it as that.
I am a classic shower person. Either shower or driving. I used to drive around with the radio on all the time, or music or something. But more often than not now, I just drive with nothing. And I just kind of go into my thoughts. And there are times when I will drive somewhere and think, oh my God, I don't even remember going over that roundabout. Did I stop? But when I come to that idea, it's because I've allowed my brain just to do its thing, and I'm allowing that computer to operate at optimum speed because I'm not putting anything else into it. It's just kind of doing its stuff. And you have complete whammies. And as Oprah says, there's times when you think, I don't know how to do this. Oh, it's never going to work. Oh, and when you just kind of relax and let it go, more often than not, the solution comes to you, and you kind of think, oh yeah. And I had one just before I started recording this morning, and I thought, wow, that is so simple. Why didn't I think about it? And the reason I didn't think about it because I wasn't giving myself a chance to think about it, and that's the end of the story.
Exactly, and I love that thing by Oprah. You know, it's so true, isn't it? We all think that we need to see the end of the road or the end of the journey, and we don't. We just need to see the next 100 meters up the road, and then we'll get there. And we'll make the next decision, and it'll get us the next part of the journey. Just keep doing the right things, keep making the right decisions, or the best decision you can at that point, and keep going forward, and you'll get there.
Absolutely. And that ties us in nicely to the theme of the whole show. And it's words that Steve Jobs said back in 2005. And it's a kind of different approach to the Oprah speech, but it's so powerful. And that's why the show became Join Up Dots. This is Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college. But it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart, even when it leads you off the well-worn path. And that will make all the difference.
So Oprah's kind of saying, you build your dots going forward, just do the next right thing and then assess. You don't know if it's going to be the right thing, but just assess as you're going through. Steve Jobs kind of says, just go with faith, trust, whatever, and then look back over your shoulder and you can see that those dots are joining up. The two are hugely powerful. Where was your big dot? Always love asking that question, but in your life, when did the dot occur that really started to pull it all together for you and move you to where you are now?
I think it would have been a few years ago. So when we had the beginning of the portfolio, you know, financially things were better. But I was actually kind of snowed under then. I was busy being a landlord and, you know, fixing light bulbs or dealing with tenants and the other stuff that goes with it. And I kind of found myself thinking, okay, I've got, you know, an income, but actually still no time. I still don't enjoy it. So other than being a bit better off, nothing's really changed. And then it occurred to me, or someone said, you know, why don't you systemize this? Get a team in and manage it. And I thought, well, you know, if I have this manager in, then it takes maybe 15% of our rent roll or, you know, whatever, and my income takes a hit. So they went, well, just build the portfolio a bit bigger then. I was like, oh, okay, I could do that. But if I do that, then, you know, what happens? What do I do with my time? And that was, I think, the moment. Because they said, well, you know, whatever you want. You can then spend your time building this shelter for victims of domestic violence. You can spend it teaching other people what you've learned. You can spend it skiing if that's what floats your boat. It doesn't really matter. The point is that you have freedom of time. And freedom of time is massive, isn't it? As you know, when you can choose what to do and when to do it, the world is literally then your oyster, because the only thing holding you back is time. And that was then sorted for me, and I realised that actually anything was possible.
I've got a lady coming on the show. I've recorded it already, and I might have mentioned this already because when she was saying it, I was thinking, wow, this is a great way of doing it. And she used to get virtual assistants to operate on her behalf, and she used to be paying them even if the work wasn't there. And so she now negotiates with these VAs that they only jump into action when the money's there. So a client comes to her, says, I need your help. She says, fine, give me the money. She keeps it and then gets the VAs to do the work, and then it's all profit. It's all profit. She doesn't waste anything. And as she was saying this, I thought, wow, that's a way of doing it. You're not spending any employment costs unless you've got the profits already. That's brilliant.
It's brilliant. I have some VAs as well. They're amazing. When people say, you know, I can't afford staff or I can't afford this, look outside of the economy you're in. Because there is, you know, other economies out there in the world that are far lower priced than ours, and you can get some brilliant, hugely talented people for, you know, 20% of the price you would have to pay, and with none of the insurance or whatever other dramas that you have when you actually employ someone. And that for your business is such a game changer. It's amazing.
Just before we send you on the sermon on the mic and we send you back in time, the question that popped up there was, how do you then decide the tasks to hand off? because I had a VA and I've still got money invested in this company because I kind of stopped them because I couldn't think of what to give them. It was like I could do it so quickly that I couldn't find the value. So I just kind of went, we'll stop the clock and I just do it, and then I decide what to come back to you with. How did you decide what you were going to hand over to the VA?
So I made these lists of things I enjoyed doing. So I kind of took all my businesses. I had like 4 different sheets of paper, one for each business. And then on each piece of paper, I think I had 3 or 4 lists. And it was like something I enjoyed doing, things that I could do, but I probably wasn't great at, things I was terrible at, and things I hated. And anything that wasn't in there, things I enjoyed doing, I just panned off. And it kind of, to start with, it takes some training. So you are sat there thinking, I could have just done it myself 10 times in this time. But then the reality is you spent that 20 minutes training and then you never have to do it again. So I use Camtasia to record videos and training. We create bullet points and feedback lists. So it's, can you please do this like this? They can go in, they can watch the video. If they have any questions, buzz me an email and come back to me. But they could do, they do everything for me now, from creating show notes for the podcast to emailing some of the guests if I'm missing some information, to chasing up builders and plumbers or whatever else for our management team, to ordering some stock for our wholesale business. Just
and is it scary
everything.
though to let them go and just do the stuff? Do you find you kept on checking them?
Yeah, I was a nightmare for months. I just, they'll say, oh, Kemi, I sent 30 emails today. So I'd go into the sent box and just check. I was over their shoulder. And in the end, it's like everything. There are good eggs and there are bad eggs. And there were a couple of people that weren't quite doing what we needed. And we're fortunate we were able to kind of move them off. And that's the great thing with VAs as opposed to employees. If it's not working, get rid of them. And then I created like Excel spreadsheets. So they go in every day and they say, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. And, the statistics are there. Awesome. Most of it you can check. To start with, I did use a screen recording software. So they downloaded this thing onto their laptop. So when they were working, it recorded their screen, and then I can watch it back in 2 minutes. It kind of condenses 12 hours to 2 minutes. So you can see if they have been working for 8 hours or whatever. With the guys that we've had long term now, I don't bother because we've got a mutual trust, and they're part of our business and part of our company. But yeah, it's like everything. You set standards, you monitor them, you reward them, and then if they're not quite meeting it, give them a few chances, and then move them on because they're not right for you. But I was a nightmare to start with.
I think that is the title of the whole show. You're a lady that sets the standard, aren't you? You set your own personal standard, you set the expectation standard, and when you get it right, it allows breathing space and it allows thinking space, and that brings the value to you, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what I try to do. I try to kind of lead the way. I try to set the standard, and I try to help as many people, bring them with me as I can.
Perfect. Well, I'm going to set the standard because I do this on every show, so you knew it was going to happen. But this is the part that we call a sermon on the mic, when I send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time and speak to the young Kemi, what age would you choose and what advice would you give? Well, we're going to find out because I'm going to play the theme tune, and when it fades, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
So I think I would go back to myself about 12, 13. So I'm quite tall. I'm just under 6 foot tall, and I hit 6 foot quite young. So I've been gangly for a lot of my life, trying to get some coordination of my limbs. And I just remember looking around at different people, people at school, teachers, people around me, who all seemed to be, pretty, or their family had money, or they were the perfect kind of Barbie doll figure, or they seem to have it all together. And I just thought, I'm never going to get that. I'm never going to be that together. I'm never going to feel like I'm doing what I should be doing. And for years, I was really worried about that. And, I didn't feel attractive and I didn't feel successful, blah, 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 blah. And if I could go back to myself at that age, I'd just say, you know what? Almost like an ugly duckling thing. Actually, very little comes from, when you're 12 or 13, you haven't set your standard for life. No one has a clue what they're doing. You're all blagging it and trying to make it up as you go along. But the reality is, be a good person, be true to yourself, be authentic, and everything else will follow. And I wish I'd learned a lot younger to be authentic, to stand in my truth, to be honest with who I am and what I am. And success would have come a lot quicker, I think. And equally, I think I grew up to be a not bad looking person. So I think it all came together.
I think you're more than not bad. I think you're pretty good. There you go. That's the biggest compliment I've ever given any guest.
Oh, thanks.
Pretty good. And I say that on every show. I'll be honest with you. How can our audience connect with you, Kemi?
Yeah, come over, say hi. I'm on Twitter a lot, at Kemi Egan. Same thing on Facebook. I think it's Kemi Egan Freedom Academies. And then on our website, we're at www.freedomacademies.com. We've got a free training program and all sorts of jazz going on there.
We'll have all the links on the show notes. Kemi, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. And please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Kemi Egan, thank you so much.
Thank you, David.
Do you sit and dream about building a profitable online business that means you wake up every day with a yay instead of an oh no? Well, you've come to the right place, because Dream Starters Academy is the community that will help you group with people with different levels of knowledge, experience, dreams, but one common goal. Yes, to be the greatest and most inspirational version of themselves. If you want to build a business around the hours you choose to work, create a business that works while you sleep, develop a service business that is a joy every day, and take time off when you want, and of course, build a network of friends, supporters, and action takers who are available 24/7, then Dream Starters Academy is your global approach to business. The doors are never closed and the dream never stops building. Come across to Join Up Dots Coaching. Look for Dream Starters Academy and join with us now and watch your dream materialize before your eyes.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.